achieve a lot and stop what's going on.
Another protester, Helen Bozick.
The necessity to build out of these protests and build out of these actions to mass direct action nationwide.
The protests remained entirely peaceful. Elizabeth Lintonen, WTMJ News.
Anti-ICE protests also happening in New York, Chicago, Denver, Washington, D.C., and other cities. The mayor of Los Angeles put a curfew in place after she claimed there'd been a significant amount of criminal behavior in Tuesday's protests. President Trump preparing for his $45 million military parade in Washington this weekend, issuing an ominous warning to demonstrators who might exercise their right to protest near the event. Here's ABC's Mary Bruce.
Tanks are rolling towards Washington ahead of the president's military parade this weekend. Trump with this warning to anyone who might show up to protest.
If there's any protester who wants to come out, they will be met with very big force.
Trump not differentiating between violent and peaceful protesters. There are protests planned around the country for the day of the parade.
One of Sean Diddy Combs' former girlfriends back on the witness stand today. The defense continues cross-examination of Jane. ABC's Aaron Katersky says they're trying to show she benefited from her relationship with Combs and gave her consent to some of the alleged activities between her, Combs, and others.
The defense sought to highlight the benefits of Jane's relationship with Combs, including a $20,000 investment in her line of swimsuits and dresses, the rent on a 5,300-square-foot home, and luxury gifts. When defense attorney Tenny Garagos asked Jane about those gifts, the tone turned sharper. What is a Bottega bag? Garagos asked. I'm sure you have one, Jane snapped. I actually don't, Garagos said.
Lawyers for Maxwell Anderson filed a motion to dismiss one of his felony charges. Anderson, of course, found guilty last week of 4 felonies in the death and dismemberment of 19-year-old Sade Robinson after a first date last year. His defense team has requested the court remove the charge of hiding a corpse. Anderson's sentencing set for August 15th. He could face a maximum penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole. For months, tens of street takeovers involving loud cars and groups of people have taken place on Milwaukee streets. State Assemblyman Bob Donovan tells Wisconsin's Afternoon News he wants Milwaukee police officers to shut them down.
I see officers standing by. This is disorderly conduct at the highest level, and they need to start making some arrests and holding these idiots accountable.
Donovan says he supports police actions to de-escalate, but says there must come a time in which lawlessness is no longer tolerated. Giving the gift of life at the Milwaukee County Zoo.
The American Red Cross is looking for donors this week as blood donations typically decline during the summer. Red Cross spokesperson Lizzie Pant tells WTMJ.
Only 3% of the population gives blood. The donors that can come out can make a huge difference. They're super needed. Somebody needs a pint of blood every 2 seconds. So just in the interview here, we're talking potentially, hundreds of lives.
Donors will receive free same-day zoo admission and 2 free tickets to Summerfest while supplies last. The blood drive runs through Thursday. Neil Doyle, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow is up 180 points, NASDAQ up 82, S&P 500 is up 19. Financial planning at every level, Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather up next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:04.
When people think sleep apnea, they think CPAP. Now at Advent, we do all we can to help sleep apnea sufferers avoid the CPAP machine. And most sleep apnea sufferers who come to Advent are going to be able to avoid a CPAP altogether. Our unique Advent approach using simple in-office solutions can get your nose working and throat open all under one roof. You see, the root of every snoring and obstructive sleep apnea problem lies within the throat, nose, or both. At Advent, we know when we get the nose and throat working properly, most snoring and sleep apnea problems will subside. And we have the most simple and convenient, ultra-effective in-office solutions that can do just that. And this is why people have traveled by planes, trains, and automobiles from corners of the world you would never think of to find the sleep apnea and snoring relief you won't find elsewhere.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. AdventKnows.com. Most insurance accepted.
Hi, I'm Rose Gray with Fox World Travel, and I'm excited to share that our exclusive guided Alaska land and sea journeys are now available for 2026. We partner with Holland America Line to curate the best and most sought-after experiences to Alaska. We send hundreds of travelers from Wisconsin to Alaska every year, along with experienced Fox tour managers for peace of mind. Don't just picture Alaska, live it. We have limited spots, and these tours are booking fast. Visit Fox World Travel online or call 866 Go Fox Go.
Here's to the Farm and Fleet dads, the ones who take pride in a job well done, the ones who make the most of every moment and still take the time to pass it on. At Blaine's, we're here to make this Father's Day special with gifts for one-of-a-kind dads at prices that'll make them proud. Like men's work and sport apparel starting at $10.99, men's full blue brand jeans $12.99 a pair, a 20-piece gear wrench mechanics tool set only $79.99. Plus, Blaine's gift cards are always perfect gifts. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Be an original.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. Brewers tied their series. Milwaukee beat the Braves 4-1 at home. Teams wrap up that series today. Green Bay holds day 2 of its mandatory minicamp. Team scheduled to practice again tomorrow before breaking till the start of training camp. Green Bay signed defensive lineman Cameron Young on Tuesday. Take a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. We have a closure. Highway 31 North closed from Spring Street to Frontage Road, Old County, MM, because of a crash there. There's also a crash. It is blocking the right shoulder on the ramp from I-41 North to I-41 894 West. And 994 West, almost a mile beyond the ramp from Moreland right shoulder, they're blocked due to a disabled vehicle. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Sunny, breezy, warm, humid today with a high of 87. Chance for showers and storms tonight, low 60. We could see scattered showers and storms tomorrow, high 68 to 74. Chance of storms again on Friday, high 72 to 78. Morning rain on Saturday, then mostly cloudy, high 68 to 72. And partly sunny on Sunday, highs in the mid to upper 60s to about 76 inland. 73 all around in Madison, Green Bay, and Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:08.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scaffidi and Kristin Brey.
Oh, happy hump day, everybody.
I knew you were going to do it.
How you knew? I was going to skip doing it because we have a busy show
This
today.
would throw me off my game.
But then I said, I got to do it because otherwise I'll lose it. You know, if you don't do it
The
all...
people will miss it if you don't do it.
It's not like getting on a bike. You got to keep doing it over and over and over again. Kristin, sometimes the side conversations are better than the actual show. Let me just tell you that. All right, we have a busy show today. In a moment or two, we're going to be joined by an author, local author from New Berlin, actually, who's... We're not going to talk about, we'll mention his books a little bit, but he's a retired healthcare executive. Mm-hmm. All kinds of great information on things like the executive order's impact on the pharmaceutical, big pharma in this country, and some of the other things about drug pricing and, you know, all the impacts of the high cost of drugs that we've talked about on this program before. He'll join us in a little bit, and a lot of other great stuff. Did you know, Kristin, looking ahead a little bit, FEMA's going away.
So they say.
So that's what the president said. You know, take it with a grain of salt because sometimes he says stuff and it doesn't happen.
And I will say, we're going to talk about this more, but I was looking up back in March, Axios did a map of which states would suffer the most. Wisconsin, we haven't gotten any funding to individuals and households from 2021 to 2025. So as far as natural disasters going that FEMA has to be responsive for, maybe you want to live in Wisconsin if it's going away.
Yeah. And here's the other kicker. Where would those funds come from if FEMA goes away? Well, the president, if he has his way, it goes back to the states. You think they want to pick up that price tag? How do you think Florida feels about it, or California?
We'll talk about it more. Ron DeSantis said earlier this year that Florida would be prepared. Louisiana, maybe not.
So we got a busy show on the program today. Point Taken is the show. She's Chris and I'm Steve. We're going to take a very early break. We don't typically do this, but I want to get some time to our author friend who's an expert on healthcare. And I really want to dig deep on some of this stuff because he's worked in this industry. And you and I love the fact that we can bring subject matter experts on to sort of parse some of the things that we get the headlines. We're not healthcare executives. No. We don't sometimes understand the significance of what the federal government does when it comes to the individual. Well, this is somebody who's worked in that arena and will shed some light on just how this stuff plays out. The interesting thing about our guest, he's sort of a middle of the roader. He believes, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have him on, in civil discourse, which, as you know, Chris, I'm a big fan of that.
Also a big fan of that.
Yeah, which we need more of. I think we both agree on that, even though you're...
I think most of our people who listen to us agree with that, too. That's what we get complimented on the most, I think.
Yeah, which is cool in this day and age when everybody's yelling at everybody else about... I mean, look at our text exchange with Bill and Joe this morning. My goodness. What are we at, 40 texts already?
I don't count.
It's 10 o'clock. 40 texts. Guys, what are you doing? All right, we'll take a quick...
Multitasking, that's what we're doing.
She's Kristin, I'm Steve. Point taken. Quick break. We'll be back with our guests after this on 620 WTMJ.
When we're out in your town, come say hi as we broadcast live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
Anytime you hear us when we're on the road, you can find us live from our brand new mobile studio.
Whether it be Summerfest, EAA, Opening Day, Air and Water Show, wherever we may be.
You can see us on the radio, live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
News Radio 620 WTMJ.
Hey, it's WTMJ, Steve Scaffidi. The big focus in America today on your health, and you're determined to look beyond the pills and steroids and surgery to feel your best, right? I want to talk to people out there who are in pain right now. Maybe it's someone you love, friend, neighbor, family member. You've done everything they told you to do. The pain just comes back. You're exhausted, but you don't give up. How about QC Kinetics? They're different. They're not quick fixes. This is a revolutionary treatment that works to give your body long-term relief. You meet face-to-face with their medical directors and experts, their team. They'll explain how their regenerative treatments take your body's own healing power and helps them restore your damaged tissue. Their well-respected protocols include potent and powerful cellular-level treatments. QC Kinetics has helped tens of thousands of people, many of them right here in Milwaukee. They'd be honored to help you as well. No masking the pain. They're going after the very source of it. Yes, you can say goodbye to that chronic pain and live your best life. Find out if you're a good candidate. The consultation is free with appointments. Just call QC Kinetics at 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474.
Hey there, did you hear? There are still spots open for Girl Scout Summer Camp 2025.
Whether you're into water activities, arts and crafts, sports and games, exploring nature, or even horseback riding, there's a camp just for you.
Choose from GSY's day camps, overnight camps, community day camps, or Camp Hero.
Bring a friend and get ready for a summer full of adventure, friendship, and leadership.
Register today and let's make this the best summer ever, Girl Scout style.
All right, point taken on this Hump Day edition. Special guest in studio today. Our mutual friend CJ Safer said you should have Kevin Kleesner on. He's a retired healthcare executive. And oh, by the way, he's written some books, one of which I have in my hands. And for all those folks watching on YouTube, it's a trio of books. Is that correct, Kevin?
That's correct.
Yeah. Local writer, New Berlin.
Correct.
Mine is The Killer's Terms. And they're all, how do you say the theme? It's Cole
Hipsch.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're thriller novels. They're fast-paced, but
set here
in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. And I like to say they pack a punch as big as the protagonist, who's an FBI agent here in Milwaukee.
A good tagline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like you're a writer or something.
If you're a writer, I could use that. All right. Well, but anyway, but when I say they pack a big punch, it's because each of them takes on some pretty big issues. The latest one, The Killer's Terms, looks at term limits.
Yeah.
The Killer's Speech really got into big pharma.
That's what we want to talk about.
Yeah. And so anyway, I think that we've lost civil discourse.
But they're novels.
They're novels.
And you just use these big topics and weave it into the story.
Right. I think you ought to enjoy yourself first. But with novels, I like to learn something too.
Yeah, same.
All right. So we know that the president, it was about 3 weeks ago, executive orders on big pharma and drug prices. What do you think the president's trying to accomplish here? And what's your overall take on that action? You can speak to executive orders in general. I'm not a huge fan of that because I think you're sort of taking away the responsibilities of Congress when it comes to some of this stuff. But it's an interesting idea to sort of tame or control sort of the runaway prices when we're talking about some of the drugs that people use every day.
Right. Yeah. And I don't care if you're a pro-Trumper or an anti-Trumper. I think this is an issue that has to be dealt with, and it's decades too long that we've waited to try to do something about it. He actually, I think it was on May 11th that he went on Truth Social, Trump did, and he announced this. And then the next day, the executive order came out. And he said he was giving his team, I think it was 30 days, to kind of look into this and come up with favored nation pricing. And at the end of that, they would take a look at how close they're coming to get some improvement. And otherwise, they're going to go to a next step, whatever that might be. But I know he announced that HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be playing a lead in that. But the bottom line is we currently pay over 3 times as much for our pharmaceuticals as any other country.
Why is that?
Well, the reason is it's multifactorial, but it also kind of leads into why we can't just leave this up to Congress. Because, and I mentioned this out in the hallway, basically in my earlier career in healthcare, I was a hospital president. I did a number of different things. I was on a healthcare advisory committee for a U.S. congressman, and this is 15, 20 years ago. At that time, we were only spending twice as much on our prescription drugs. But to me, that was horrible. And as somebody who had to keep a bottom line for a nonprofit hospital, the pricing would just keep going up exponentially every year. And so I met with the congressman privately after one of our quarterly meetings, and I just said, why do we allow this to happen? And he said to me, Kevin, if I'm ever asked, I'll deny that I said this, but Big Pharma is the one industry that has both sides of the aisle bought and paid for. And I admired this guy. I still do. I think he was trying to do the right things, but it was a Sisyphean feat, trying to push the big rock up the hill and you keep getting crushed by it. At some point, you're going to stop.
So there's a part of this that is Congress is not incentivized to do anything about it because of what you just said. But as far as how the system is set up, I know I always hear about pharmacy benefit managers. And is this because we have a free market and we don't have universal health care, so it's the government negotiating with the big pharma companies? Or what is it systematically that causes us to pay this much?
Well,
what would need to be changed, I guess, if Congress were incentivized to change it?
I think we have to set prices. And the reason I say that is every other country sets prices. So I believe in the free market system. I believe in Adam Smith and the invisible hand and all that. I don't believe in price setting. But even our founding fathers, there were times when certain markets weren't set up for a free market system. And this is one because if every other country sets prices and we don't, then what ends up happening is we keep paying more and more. And so, this goes against my grain, but I think we have to match them. And that's actually what Trump is doing here when he says he wants favored nation status. Now, an executive order, as I understand it, it's almost like a wish list. It's not really, it doesn't
There's not a lot of
accomplish
teeth
much.
to it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is something that I think this is something we just have to address because it's bankrupting our healthcare system. And I have so many stories of, as a patient and also as a hospital administrator, where the cost of drugs is causing chaos in our system. And our people are getting less health care, even though we spend so much more for that health care.
One of the stories, it's probably more than that people always talk about is people can't afford the drugs that would actually make them healthier or keep them alive in some cases. How big a piece of that story is part of this? What I'm saying? Where people just can't afford the drug prices. They can't do the things, take that pill, get that shot, get that injection or whatever, infusion, to make them be able to live a longer, healthier life. How big a piece of that?
It's huge. It's huge. The cost of the drugs for the consumer is basically people are making choices. And it's not always like the impoverished. It can be, I don't know what level it goes up to, but this is impacting a lot of people. And I'll give you an example. I was at a specialist appointment earlier this week, and I'm on a couple of life-saving drugs, let's say. And the nurse basically talked to me and she said, "Can you afford this medication?" And maybe I'm too honest. I said, "Yeah, I can afford it." And she said, "Well, a lot of our patients can't." And so we found a way to help them get the drug from Canada. And she said, our system would hate to hear that. But I just hate the fact that you have some physician offices like this who are finding workarounds.
Yeah.
And these systems have their own big pharmacies, so they want it all to go through their systems. But I would say the vast majority aren't doing that workaround. And so people are just not being able to afford their meds. And it's disgusting.
Before we go to break, I want to talk about term limits because that's the subject, part of the subject matter and theme of your newest book. How realistic is it to think, given what you said at the beginning, that both sides are sort of bought and paid for, that anything changes on at least on the pricing piece of this story?
Well, I don't know. I'm optimistic. Let's put it that way, because I think if enough people know about this, they're going to be up in arms, and we could see action on it. I think you've seen that over time in our history that certain things are put off, and then ultimately people get so fed up, you just kind of throw the tea in the harbor and let's get this done.
Because that was kind of did it surprise you, the reaction, if we're going back to December with Luigi Mangione and the internet's reaction to him killing Brian Thompson?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it sickened me, obviously, but
as far as people's frustration that is simmering under the surface with our healthcare system.
Yes. And there was a movie, was it As Good as It Gets? It was with Helen Hunt. And anyway, she rails against the HMO industry. This was like 20 years ago. People in the theaters were standing up and applauding during that scene. And I think we need to get there with this.
Okay.
Author Kevin Kleesner, he's got several books out there. Available wherever you get your books. Amazon.
At Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
And
this is the latest one, The Killer's Terms?
Correct.
All right.
Boswell Books. I got to get Daniel Golden in.
I saw you did a reading there, which is very cool. We'll take a quick break. Point taken, Kristin and Steve. After the break, term limits, because you've written about that, and I think that's something that a lot of our fans of the show are interested in. I can't speak today for some reason. I'll work on it. All right, quick break here on 620 WTMJ.
A lot of law firms claim to be experts at handling injury cases that involve large trucks. But handling one trucking case does not make you an expert on the subject. Experience matters in these cases. One local firm has handled 25 trucking cases which resulted in payments over $1 million each, and hundreds of others as well. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, and Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
It's Debbie Lazaga, and I'm so excited because Kohler Services just transformed my old bathtub into a beautiful new Luckstone shower. Kohler Services made it so easy. They came to my home and helped me design my custom shower, and they hauled away my old tub. Stephen, Luke, and Will were focused and professional installers. I'd recommend them to anyone. This June, receive a free shower door with a purchase of a Kohler Luckstone shower, plus no interest for 12 months. You can request your free quote for a custom Kohler Luckstone shower by visiting KohlerServicesWI.com. That's KohlerServicesWI.com.
For those with a warm weather fashion, try St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, because that's where you'll find a vast array of men's, women's, girls, and boys' warm weather apparel at the friendliest prices. So many choices, and at such a value. You can fill the closet without draining your wallet. Shop warm weather fashions at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
St. Anne's Center for Intergenerational Care recently switched to James Imaging Systems for their document imaging technology. Why? CFO Sally Parente.
Well, I think that boils back down to the service. We have a good partnership with James Imaging.
With James, you get more than a vendor relationship. You get a local business technology partner.
Oh, absolutely. I can pick up the phone at any time, contact our representative, and he's right on it.
James Imaging Systems, business technology and local support for more productivity, more value.
Definitely. We're a nonprofit here. We have to watch every penny, so we really feel very comfortable in that area with James Imaging.
Comfortable enough to recommend James Imaging Systems to others?
Well, without hesitation, I would recommend James Imaging. They won't be disappointed.
James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
Streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. It's fairly obvious they were inspired by Hassellus Mattress. Hassellus showrooms are employee-free, plus unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic, plus free next-day delivery, plus 60-month interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit, plus a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Maybe we should change our name to Hassellus Plus. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
Few minutes left with our guest, Kevin Kleesner. His series of books, starting in 2021, The Killer's Sermon, 2023, The Killer's Speech, and his latest book, The Killer's Terms, available at Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books. I assume Amazon as well. Right. I want to ask you, we only got a few minutes, but term limits, something I'm very passionate about. But I mean, here's the question I always ask anybody who says, I'm a big supporter of the idea of term limits. The people that make the decision, most of them don't want term limits. So how are you getting around that?
Well, there is an effort. It's called U.S. Term Limits, and they're basically trying to get a congressional convention held.
Right.
And I think Wisconsin voted for it, believe it or not.
Yes.
We've got about a third of the states have voted for that now.
You need 2/3, right?
We need 2/3, but it is gaining momentum. And I will tell you, 30 years ago, there was the contract with America. And it was funny because that swept in a wave of Republicans. And one of the things they promised was term limits for U.S. senators and representatives. And they got through almost their whole agenda except this one little thing.
Right.
And it's funny because Congress, they didn't have a problem, a number of years ago voting for term limits for the U.S. president.
Oh, yeah.
It's just for themselves. And
what would you say as far as if you could wave a magic wand and say what the appropriate term limits would be for each office? Because that's the argument. One, what the argument against is always I should be able to vote for who I want to, and two is that there's institutional knowledge that gets gained with each term that you maybe lose if you artificially end it. I'm not saying I support those arguments, but that's what I've heard as the arguments against term limits. So what would you say is an appropriate amount of time?
Well, I just want to touch on those. The idea that it's a fair fight with an incumbent and people can just vote for who they want is BS because
people are getting paid to run.
You're like a tick on a dog, and you have such a war chest to compete with. And then the other thing, you have this institutional knowledge that's going to be lost. How many congressmen have you seen come to Washington and not vote for the first few years because they just don't know enough? Zero. And so I say that's hooey. I mean, if you don't know enough on these issues, bone up, And when 90% of the people out there, and it's over 80% of Democrats, 80% of Republicans want term limits, and yet you won't bring it up for over 30 years, are they representing us?
Well,
I mean,
it's
that's
funny
my question.
because it kind of feels like how everyone hates negative ads, and yet they work, right? Because there's this 90% of people say they want, or if that's the term or the number, say that they want term limits, and yet they keep voting for the incumbent, right? And so it's kind of a push and pull. Is like, well, we got to work with what we got.
Will we see it in our lifetime? You think in Congress?
Yes,
we're about the same age. So,
yeah, I think we will. I'm 67. The reason I say that is when this happened 30 years ago, you saw there were more and more states that voted for term limits for their representatives and senators in their own state. And then it was taken up by the Supreme Court. A lot of people forget this, but it was only 30 years ago, so I lived through this. There was all this momentum building, and then the Supreme Court basically said term limits by state can't take place for their U.S. representatives. It's all got to be the same playing field.
Here's my idea. 2 terms for Senate, 5 for House.
So 10 and 12 years?
Yeah.
I would just say, as long as we get to dream this, I would make it 4-year terms and have 2 terms for representatives. Because if it's every 2 years, you're just constantly
fundraising.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Author and retired healthcare executive Kevin Kleesner, his latest book, I'm holding it up on the camera, The Killer's Terms, part of a trio of books set here in Wisconsin. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Super interesting.
And thanks for sharing your wisdom as well. Busy show today. We're going to talk about FEMA, where that's going, where that story is going. We got local news with the always outstanding Connie Weber. Before we get to any of that, here's the latest from ABC News.
Thank you very much.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The curfew in downtown Los Angeles has been lifted, but National Guard troops and Marines called in by President Trump are still at the ready. A warning from the president who says if there are protests at his big military parade on Saturday in Washington, D.C., they will be met with a very big police force. The parade marking the Army's 250th anniversary, says ABC's Mary Bruce.
The president has longed for this parade, a show of military might like he's seen from other countries. Sources tell ABC News mounted rocket launchers will be on display, as well as precision-guided missiles. This in addition to those tanks and an assortment of fighting vehicles. The event will also feature 6,700 soldiers and a 50-aircraft flyover.
The president says the U.S. will get magnets and rare earth minerals from China under a new trade framework, and that tariffs on Chinese goods will total 55%. Also saying Chinese students will be allowed to continue attending American colleges. This is ABC News.
Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:31. I'm Connie Weber. 2 campers found dead on Isle Royale National Park at Lake Superior, just south of the U.S. border with Canada. Bodies found early Monday. No word yet on the causes of death. Man who was falsely accused of threatening to assassinate President Trump can be released on bond. An immigration judge ruled Ramon Morales Reyes can go free from the Dodge County Detention Center. Reyes was accused of writing a letter in English threatening the president. He doesn't speak English well. Investigators say he was framed by Demetric Scott, who allegedly attacked him and stole his bike back in 2023. Scott's accused of forging the letter to try and clear his case. Milwaukee Public Schools says it's looking at a 50-year-old policy that lets students have a seat on the school board. MPS School Board President Missy Zombor says the move's aimed at cutting down barriers and participation across the district. If approved, 2 student board members would have a seat at any non-executive MPS school board meeting and participate in conversations but would not have a vote. Here's the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management market update. The Dow is up 150 points, 43,017. NASDAQ up 48, 19,762. S&P 500 up 12 at 6,051. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. I-43 south, about a half mile beyond the ramp from Layton Avenue. Right shoulder there blocked due to a disabled vehicle. Also a broken down vehicle. This one's going to be blocking the right lane. I-94 east at the ramp from Highway 175 north, Brewers Boulevard. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Sunny, breezy, warm today, 87 for the high. Chance of showers and storms tonight with a low 60. Scattered showers and storms possible tomorrow and Friday. Thursday's high 68 lakeside, 74 inland. Friday's highs 72 lakeside, 78 inland. Morning showers Saturday, high 68 to 72. And Sunday, partly sunny skies with highs 67 to 76. Madison and Green Bay both at 73. Milwaukee 74 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:33.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or Sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1-day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's 4 walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
Here's to time out on the water in Wisconsin. To living your best life while enjoying the lake life.
Ready?
And getting up on a wakeboard the very first try. Or not. Here's to wearing only swimsuits and wishing this perfect day would never end. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Start your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com.
Dan, what are you doing?
Taking a closet for a test drive.
A test drive?
Here at Inspired Closets, we have our own cutting-edge immersive design experience.
That's right. Envisioned by Inspired Closets uses AR technology that's sort of like test driving a car.
Virtually walk into your custom closet at scale before anything is even built.
You can even make changes in real time, so your environment will adapt to any design revisions you make in that moment.
Get started today at InspiredClosetsMilwaukee.com.
Inspired Closets, a wife and husband team.
Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Just like that. Hump day.
Hump day.
You know what is? It's the hump for me because I'm leaving on vacation Saturday.
I know. You're just really
getting on an
working
airplane.
on borrowed time right now as far as your concentration.
No, I don't. Well,
and you have a big news to announce, right?
Hawaii just sold out, but my friend Rose Gray at Fox Road Traveler wants to remind people that sometimes there's cancellations, so there's a wait list that you can get on right now. So 866-GO-FOX-GO. But to all of you 50 people, this is going to be lights out fun and just crazy and awesome. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. We'll do, as I said, on all my trips, I do sort of a meet and greet before so we get to know each other. So it's not awkward when we get there. Not that it would be. But I'm looking forward to that. So we'll do that next summer because this trip is, which is.
I'm going to say, now we don't get to talk. Fortunately, we're not going to talk about it every day anymore because it's sold out.
Maybe there'll be a next trip that we'll be talking about. But in 5 weeks, we sold this sucker out. So thanks to all of you who signed up. You know who you are. Appreciate each and every one of you. And we will meet and have fun. Kathy and I are looking forward to meeting all of you in Hawaii. And I'm looking forward to getting that first tattoo. And I'm still waiting, by the way, for that graphic designer to design me sort of a compass. And I will tell you what will go in each of the quadrants. And that will be the design that I will put on my left shoulder. Not too big, though. I don't want the big, gaudy one.
Okay. All right. Should we talk about some news?
Yeah. One more quick thing. Okay. Could a hula girl be one of the 4 things? I think that would be appropriate to signify Hawaii. Maybe a hula girl with 50? You know what I'm saying?
As long as Kathy okays it, you don't have to ask me.
Oh, so she has to okay.
Yeah. Okay. I would imagine you have to get the approval from Kathy as far as
she still thinks it's not going to happen. That's where she's at on this whole thing.
All right. So
news.
If you haven't heard this yet, in the Oval Office yesterday, Trump said that he after this hurricane season, they are going to get rid of FEMA. So we have a little bit of audio from that press conference yesterday.
We want to wean off of FEMA, and we want to bring it down to the state level. A little bit like education, we're moving it back to the states so the governors can handle it. That's why they're governors now. If they can't handle it, they shouldn't be governor.
So he also added that the federal government will start distributing less federal aid for disaster recovery and that the funding will come directly from the president's office and the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration projects this year's hurricane season, which officially ends November 30th, to be particularly intense and potentially deadly.
Go ahead. Tell me what you think.
This just feels so. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I looked up Axios. I think because he lofted this idea earlier this year, and so back in March, FEMA pulled some of the numbers as far as funding sent to individuals and households between 2021 and 2025. The good news for us here in Wisconsin, we're getting clear. Yeah. There hasn't been as many. There hasn't been disasters at this level that FEMA's had to get involved. As you can imagine, California has had a fair amount, but most of this is in the South, right? Most when you're talking about Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, like all of those states have somewhere between, have counties that are somewhere between 100K to 500 million as far as this colored map goes. And so what happens is this is, if we want to use an analogy, it's like when we all pay into health insurance and that gets distributed evenly over the people who need it. Are these southern states going to be able to raise the funds to have adequate response with their disproportionate amount of disasters, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and what are they going to need to do about, if this is true, what are they going to have to do, income taxes, other taxes, to actually be able to pay for this?
And the answer is some can probably, given whatever the limits are to what they can pay, because no one has an unlimited budget, and some can't. Some of the states are very poor when it comes to emergency funding. The bottom line here, though, this is why we have a federal government. Mm-hmm. There are certain moments, certain things that the government can help states with. If we're going to just throw everything at the states, that means everything. That doesn't mean you get to pull stuff back when you feel like it, i.e. sending National Guard troops to Los Angeles or other places. That means exclusively going to the states. And I don't buy, I know it was in the clip, that you're a bad governor if you have a natural disaster and you need help. That's not a weakness. That's asking for help in an appropriate manner. This is what the government should be set up to do. Is there waste in this stuff? Absolutely. There's waste in all forms of government, but you go after the waste. This administration has shown over and over again, we'll do a story later about another example of this with DOGE, where it's just chop it off, don't care about the consequences, and then sort of backpedal because you realize, oh, you know what? Maybe NOAA, maybe FEMA in this case, maybe they're kind of important. Maybe in those big moments when the country's really suffering, when we have a Katrina-type event, we probably need some federal assistance.
Well, and the part that sticks out to me is when he says the funding will come directly from the president's office. Is that through like block grants that he gets to pick and choose how much and who gets it based on who the governor is and the relationship he has?
Again, I'm not interested in a U.S. government where one person decides everything. I know some people have signed up for that nonsense, not this person. You should be very wary of one person deciding. That's why we have Congress, 400 plus members in the House, 100 members in the U.S. Senate. They should be part of this conversation. And when we have a president who seems intent on making all the decisions himself, often with very little background, superficial knowledge, i.e. tariffs, about what he's talking about in the first place when it comes to executive orders. And I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, but we're going to do a story later. I'll give an example of how this shows up real life, real time, when you just cut stuff without any sort of data to support those cuts. This is dangerous stuff. And if you're asking the people in Asheville or Fort Myers Beach or some of the shores areas of many of our southern states, if they can just do it themselves, their answer is going to be a declarative NO.
It's not, though. Ron DeSantis said earlier this year.
Florida's got a lot of resources. That's a sort of an outlier.
Okay.
I'll give him that. But he's also just saying that. What if the next hurricane cuts a swath right through the center of Florida and causes $1 trillion worth of damage? Florida going to be good for that? We'll find out. He doesn't care because he's not going to be the damn governor. He's term limited, going back to our early conversation.
Yeah.
I get worked up about this stuff because these things matter.
Well, and this is a question that, so as a conservative, as a Republican, and the idea of shrinking the federal government, which is, it seems like, again and again, that is a goal of this administration. Is how do we shrink the federal government? So if we effectively, over these next 3.5 years, do that, does that mean that the tax cuts come down? But how much more, like I said before, are we then going to have states increasing their income taxes with more of the responsibility falling on each state?
Yes.
Because ultimately, some of this stuff has to get paid for unless we're just going to live in some kind of dystopia where if you're rich, you're fine and you can pay for your own roads and you can pay for your own health care. But if you don't, the states aren't paying for it anymore. So good luck.
Tough luck. You know, in Florida, by the way, they don't have a state income tax.
I know.
They're going to have to get that money from somewhere. And Ron DeSantis can say what Ron DeSantis wants to say.
Well, it's mostly sales tax.
Yeah. How much do you think that's going to go up? They can't even get their people insured for their homes down there anymore because they can't afford it. Real quick, a text, then I'm going to go to break. Wish you spent as much time as you bashed Trump talking about Biden's cognitive decline. You talk about whataboutism? Joe Biden, last time I checked, is not the president of the United States. I talked about the cognitive decline, I think as recently as last week or the week before. Pay attention. Listening is a skill. Listen better, be smarter. We're talking about the current occupant of the White House in the Oval Office. Joe Biden, last time I checked, is not sitting in that office. What kind of a world do you live in where every defense of everything you don't like when you hear on the radio or in a bar stool conversation, which is probably your case, do you go to the last guy who had the office or have the position? That's stupid. Now, I respect you as a listener for texting, so I'll give you credit for that. Listen better, be smarter. Whataboutism is not a defense of anything. So stop doing it. Break. What if you could lose up to 1 pound of fat every single day at Milwaukee Weight Loss? They've got the secret, and it's helping people shed serious weight fast. Hey, it's Steve Scaffidi from WTMJ. I've been on the Milwaukee Weight Loss program since January and currently in the maintenance phase after losing, get this, 40 pounds. It was fast, easy, and safe, and I'm sticking with the incredible team at Milwaukee Weight Loss to keep the weight off. Their doctor-developed, easy-to-follow program helps people lose weight naturally and safely with no drugs, no risky injections, no meal kits, no shakes, no exercise required. It's not just about losing weight. It's about resetting your metabolism to keep it off for good with personal coaching every step of the way. And guess what? Their program costs up to half as much and works up to twice as fast as most other programs. Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in just a month or two, up to 1 pound of fat a day. Book your free consultation now at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com or call 262-449-1180. That's MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com.
Pain, tingling, burning in your hand and wrist, wakes you up at night, makes life difficult. Working with your hands is nearly impossible. If that sounds like you may suffer with carpal tunnel syndrome. The problem is Medicare pays for the old open surgery done in a hospital or surgery center. And it's no walk in the park. Big incision, 6-week recovery. I mean, imagine your hands being bandaged up, unable to use it for 6 weeks. So if you want to, you can have that old open surgery the government says to get, or you have another option. An ultra minimally invasive procedure done in the office that can give you immediate relief in 15 minutes and you are back to your life in just one day. The Ovation Technique, only at Ovation Hand Institute. You've suffered long enough. You don't have to put the fix off anymore. Visit ovationhand.com and see the difference with your own eyes. ovationhand.com.
Looking for new floors but tired of the pushy sales pitch? Vince Vitrano here recommending Hunt's Flooring in Greenfield, local family-run business where the team treats you like a neighbor, not a number. It was actually one of my neighbors who recommended Hunt's to me. No pressure, no gimmicks, just honest advice, beautiful flooring, and help every step of the way. From hardwood to pet-friendly carpet, find the perfect fit for your home and budget. Visit the showroom or start your project now at huntsflooring.com. Hunts Flooring. Flooring you'll feel good about.
This season's gift with purchase is Admiral Norman. Shop now and receive skincare favorites for hydrating face and lips, including trial sizes of Aqua Bliss cleansing lotion and moisturizer, daily moisture toner, and lip conditioner SPF 15. Shop while supplies last at Merle Norman Cosmetics and Salon at Brookfield Square. Free with the purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products. Cosmetic accessories not included. Offer valid while supplies last at participating Merle Norman Cosmetic Studios only. Limit 1 per customer. We reserve the right to modify the gift if needed. Promotion not available at merlenorman.com.
Father's Day is Sunday. Take your father to the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club near Holy Hill. Buy one dinner, get one free tonight through Sunday, including desserts and ice cream drinks. Yeah, buy one, get one free even on Father's Day. Google foxandhoundsrestaurant.com.
Well, I don't know if we want to go that far.
I don't know why this is relevant to our conversation, but let's go with it.
I was heated.
Oh, because you were heated.
Yeah, but I wasn't taking my clothes off.
Trying to imagine, did you ever, you sounded like yelling at your daughters.
I yelled, but I mean, I wasn't a yeller.
Okay.
Was I yelling there?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
What'd you say? Listen better, be smarter.
Be smarter. That's one of my mottos in life. I think my dad told me that at some point.
Sounds like a dadism.
Do the right thing. It's not that hard. Just do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't do it, you're getting yourselves in a lot of weird situations that are not going to be helpful to your life story. All right, China. China is how does he say it?
China.
President of the United States, Donald Trump. He is the president, duly elected. Freely admit that. I wish he would have done that in 2020. So it's another one. I don't want to get into the details because really it's
not done yet.
Yeah, this sort of a trade tariff agreement with China, handshake agreement, which
framework.
Yeah, we've had several of these. We had the UK one. What's the other one that they recently trotted out? That I appreciate the efforts that we're talking, and I will give the president credit and his administration. So far, the tariff thing hasn't exploded in the worst possible way with inflation because the inflation numbers don't look bad. They look about what they expect. So far, so good, but I say that's more of a long-term. We'll see long-term as things dwindle on store shelves, prices can increase. And, handshake agreements where both sides are talking is good, but when that blows up because one side is being unreasonable, my words, like we are in some ways with partners like Mexico and Canada and the EU, who are been good trading partners for a long time. We can argue back and forth about China. I think this is just the administration touting something that's not quite done yet. But I will give them credit. So far, markets have settled. Some cases gone up. We've seen not explosive inflation, not a recession. So far, okay. Long term, that remains to be seen. So this is sort of a mixed bag for me. But I appreciate the effort. I will give this president, his administration, credit on working with China. But also remember, this president created the tension in the first place. You don't just get to absolve that because you have to happen to have a handshake agreement or whatever they want to call it, framework for an agreement.
Well,
whatever.
It sounds like it sounds like it's the same. They basically went back to agreeing with what they had agreed to in Geneva in May.
Yeah,
because they're back to kind of where they.
So
were
what's
there.
the news there other than you sent out a press release?
Basically, it sounds like it comes back to like magnets, and this was the Truth Social from this morning from Donald Trump. Our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me. Full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges. It's a funny way to put that. And universities, which has always been good with me. We are getting a total of 55% tariffs. China is getting 10%. Relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Okay. You had a little piece about China I thought was sort of fun little.
So, yeah, I saw this morning, and this kind of goes to the academic rigor of where we are as a country versus a much more authoritative state. I think we can all agree, which is China, and how they, the expectations and laws they implement on their citizens. So AI companies in China are trying to stop college entrance exam cheating. So there's a 9-hour test that is taken by more than 13 million high school students in China. I guess it's like their entrance exam.
9 hours.
9 hours.
Oof.
That is grueling. But this was an interesting tidbit. Cheating on exams in China is a crime. Like, not, oh, you get kicked out of school or you get suspended. Like, it sounds like it is a crime.
Like work camp crime?
I don't know. As far as, and it was kind of just thrown in the news article as far as like a throwaway.
Yeah.
I was like, this feels like a bigger story. Like, what are the ramifications of this? What are the consequences? Is that on your record forever? What kind of cheating?
Well, certainly it would be a disgrace on your record, I would think. So that's probably why they don't have much cheating.
But like, if you cheat on your SATs, I don't think it's not a criminal offense. I don't think it's a civil offense. You just probably don't get into college.
Yeah, it might be noted on your academic record somewhere. Somebody who administers those tests, actually my wife has done that in the past. Just let us know if that's a thing or not. What I think is interesting, this is another topic for another day. I know we got to get to break here because we're late. Do you think most Americans are okay with some cheating? Whatever kind of cheating you're talking about. Like this kind of cheating? I would say yes.
It depends. I think it's rationalization. I think humans are okay rationalizing anything because it's what we're very good at.
I'm saying Americans. Not that we're the worst, but it's probably not a high rate in China given the fact that it's a crime.
You mean cheating in school or anything? On taxes?
Cheating on
in a board game?
Tucking that extra bag of potatoes under your cart and not
moving your golf ball a little bit?
Kicking the ball, around a tree. I'd say more than half. That's a good topic for a future conversation. She's Kristin. I'm Steve. Quick break as we wind up the 10 o'clock hour here on 620 WTMJ. Point taken.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for QC Kinetics. The big focus in America today is on your health, right? So why aren't you feeling any better? Your knees always hurt, your shoulders keep you from exercising, and you're done with all the pills and the steroids, and you cringe at the thought of surgery. You've done everything, but the pain is always there. It's exhausting. This is when you got to call QC Kinetics. It's revolutionary treatment. It works to give your body long-term relief. Regenerative treatments takes your body's own healing power and helps and restore your damaged tissue. Call QC Kinetics today and get yourself a free sit-down. Talk to Dr. Justine Bennon. She's great. I've met with her. You can walk through the process with her. She explains it in a way that's understandable, and she can do the same for you. 414-285-3474. Call QC Kinetics today and get your life back. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Call QC Kinetics today.
Classic feeling. Your home is failing. Windows are old, roof looks horrible, siding is distressed. Even your front door fights you on everything. Hi, I'm Eric Brown, owner of Siding Unlimited, and I will be on the Fix It Show this Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. 1 hour where you get to call in and ask about your failing home and how the professionals at Siding Unlimited can help you. Can't wait until Saturday? Bring your pictures to our Siding Unlimited showroom and let's chat. Start your home updating journey with Siding Unlimited at sidingunlimited.com.
All different types of injury lawyers advertise. Cartoon lawyers, bobblehead lawyers, and folks chasing ambulances with text messages. Our clients don't want or need such lawyers. Our clients know, like, and trust that Pasternak and Zergabel will help in their time of need. I'm Jeff Zergabel of Pasternak and Zergabel. Frank Pasternak and I are excellent personal injury lawyers in our community. If you need help after an injury, go to Pasternak and Zergabel at injurywisconsin.com. That's injurywisconsin.com.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 17th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there
she goes! Catch the Brewers on local TV as they battle the Chicago Cubs.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Delta Dental of Wisconsin. Tune in June 17th at 7:05 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check out your local listings to watch the game.
Your Father's Day all-you-can-eat buffet is under $20 this Sunday at the Mine Shaft Restaurant in Hartford and in Oshkosh. Kids and grandkids under 3 eat free. Call and reserve your table for under $20. MineShaftRestaurant.com.
Dr. Aaron Holtebeck and his team at Holtebeck Eye Center make vision care a top priority. They are your premium provider for eye care and corrective eye surgeries. Dr. Holtebeck has been helping local patients with their eye care needs for over 20 years. Dr. Nausheen Abbas joined the Holtebeck Eye Center team last September, and her practice philosophy is to provide patient-centered medicine by giving all options. Located in Brookfield near the corner of Calhoun and Capitol. Learn more about their services at holtebeck.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Already done with hour one. Coming up in the next hour, it's Wednesday, hump day. So it is Ask Us Anything. So if you start texting in your questions now, 855-616-1620, we will keep track of those and start answering anything you ask us. Around 11:35. First day in a long time that we don't have a short show. Brewers are playing a little bit later in the day.
Allows us to stretch a bit.
Well, let's to stretch a little bit. So, so we have a Doge story coming up as far as maybe some people being hired back, what we can expect this weekend.
What are the next 3.5 years going to be like? Parade?
Predictive. I'm not in the predicting business.
I am. Protest. Panic. A little alliteration for you fans out there. All right, let's take a break. I'm enjoying the show. All this week I've enjoyed the shows. Maybe it's because I have that pre-vacation excitement.
Probably.
Yeah, we'll see how my butt is dragging when I get back.
When you get back, you'll be like, why don't I just retire this year?
I literally get off a plane at O'Hare that Tuesday night, and then I'm doing the show in the morning. So we'll see how I am.
I'll carry you. Don't worry about it.
You're going to carry me?
I'll carry
you.
you.
Well, after a week and a half.
Metaphorically, I don't know if I can carry you physically. All right, we'll be back.
Oh, my God.
After this. Point taken.
He told us to load 4 yards into his 8-foot bed. But we knew that 3 full, honestly measured yards were going to fill his truck bed to the rim. After we proved that, he told us the other guys have been telling him he's been getting 4 yards in there for years. Honest measurements and honest folks who just want to do you right. So you come back. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. We did the math. When you buy bagged mulch from the big guys, you pay $50 a yard. Why pay more for inferior mulch? When you buy from Erickson's, you'll get premium mulch for almost half the cost. And you'll see that even our economy mulch is better, for less than half the cost of bag mulch. And either choice is made with premium colorant that lasts longer. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection.
Welcome back to Ask Hasslis. I'm Weston. What's your question?
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
The best way to remove urine from a mattress is to trade in that old mattress for a new Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hasslis Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. And that's on top of our everyday low prices.
Come on, everybody says lowest prices.
Others sell a Sealy Posturepedic Queen Emeryville A mattress for $12.68. Hasslis sells it for $10.34. But through Monday, it's just $7.86. And check out the low prices on Beautyrest and more. Plus, free next day delivery.
What does my friend do with his old soaked mattress?
We haul it away for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasslis.com.
I can save you at least $2,000. Vince Vitrano here for my team at USA Insulation, where Jeff is offering a minimum savings of $2,000 on your insulation project of $5,000 or more. These are the folks with the proprietary injection foam filling your walls from bottom to top, where you lose up to 85% of your summer cooling. Find out how much Jeff can save you. Book your free in-home consultation today at usainsulation.net.
USA Insulation.
When a crane collapsed during construction of a Major League Sports stadium, 3 workers lost their lives. Their widows called us. When maintenance workers were permanently injured by an industrial accident at a public utilities power plant, the 7 injured workers called us. When a factory exploded, injuring dozens of workers, 18 victims, including all 3 families of men who lost their lives, called us. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, Habish & Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
The Braves are back in Milwaukee.
The mighty Braves from Milwaukee.
But now is no time to revel in the past.
Durbin, a drive, left center, deep. See you later.
Our Brewers-Braves game day coverage starts today at 12:35. We are the home of the Milwaukee Brewers. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
11:01, we have 75 degrees, sunny, breezy, warm, humid today, high of 87. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Milwaukee becomes another city across the country protesting the latest deportation efforts by ICE officials.
Members of the Milwaukee community took to Wells Street on Tuesday night in order to protest the ongoing deportations in LA. The volume of people astronomical, many carrying signs protesting the Trump administration and a variety of policies that it has perpetuated. The protest started in Cathedral Square, extending all the way downtown. Elizabeth Linton in WTMJ News.
Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers says if ICE crackdowns expand, Wisconsin's economy will be negatively impacted.
We have tens of thousands of people working in the state of Wisconsin in our farms, milking cows, doing everything possible. And if suddenly those people disappeared, the 25.8% in transportation that we're seeing, billions of dollars, all that will disappear. And I don't know who the hell is going to milk the cows.
An estimated 10,000 undocumented immigrant workers perform roughly 70% of the labor on Wisconsin dairy farms. Tensions escalating between President Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom over the protests there and the deployment of the National Guard and Marines.
President Trump is continuing to criticize California Governor Gavin Newsom, posting on social media Wednesday morning that the governor is, quote, incompetent. The president, in a new podcast interview with the New York Post, again left open the possibility of Newsom being arrested, with the president's reason for that being he's not doing a good job. Newsom, meanwhile, on Tuesday night, slammed the president.
He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Wauwatosa School District parents calling for Superintendent Dr. Damon Means to be removed after WSTEM school was closed in March. Kelly Goldman with Save Our Schools Wauwatosa tells WTMJ the expansion of WSTEM's education is better for the district overall.
It's just been hard for some people, but the change overall and the progress and the growth in our district has been really positive.
Dr. Means' actions will be reviewed at the Wauwatosa School Board meeting on June 23rd. July 4th might be a quieter evening around your neighborhood than Independence Day's past. ABC's Jim Ryan says skyrocketing prices of fireworks could put a damper on celebrations.
Organizations representing fireworks distributors, vendors, and professional display companies have gone to President Trump to ask for exemptions to the 30% tariffs imposed on Chinese fireworks. The industry fears that price hikes and supply chain issues will cut into their business this year. The American Pyrotechnics Association insists its request for an exemption isn't political, but, quote, rooted in economic reality.
Inflation up less than expected. Numbers out this morning from the Bureau of Labor Statistics show the cost of goods and services up 0.1% over the previous month, putting the annual rate of inflation at 2.4%. Economists had predicted an increase of 0.2%. Time for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow up 137, Nasdaq up 16, S&P 500 up 3. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather up next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:05.
Dan, what are you doing?
Taking a closet for a test drive.
A test drive?
Here at Inspired Closets, we have our own cutting-edge immersive design experience.
That's right. Envisioned by Inspired Closets uses AR technology that's sort of like test driving a car.
Virtually walk into your custom closet at scale before anything is even built.
You can even make changes in real time, so your environment will adapt to any design revisions you make in that moment.
Get started today at InspiredClosetsMilwaukee.com.
Inspired Closets, a wife and husband team.
Here's to sweet summer days together with friends and family in Wisconsin. To discovering magic in every moment.
Hey, Mom, over here.
And to reconnecting through a world filled with wonder.
Wow.
Here's to supper club celebrations and dancing until the sun goes down. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Plan your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here for Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin, the best in the area. They're going to take care of you big time. You want to play pickleball. You want to golf. You want to play with your grandkids in the front yard and do it with no pain. Go to the place that has the highest patient satisfaction ratings and the top doctors in the area. It's Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin. I've met the docs. I've walked through the hospital. It's absolutely incredible. They're going to take great care of you from beginning to end. Go to OHOW.com, hit the request an appointment button. OHOW.com, request an appointment.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. Brewers tied their series. Milwaukee beat the Braves 4-1 at home. They wrap up the series today. Green Bay holds day 2 of its mandatory mini-camp. Team scheduled to practice again tomorrow, then will break until the start of training camp. Green Bay signed defensive lineman Cameron Young on Tuesday. Take a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver. Traffic still working that crash that has closed Wisconsin Highway 31 north from Spring Street to Frontage Road, Old County MM. Again, a crash there south of town. That's the only major snag on the freeway system this hour. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Sunny, breezy, warm, humid today, high 87. Chance of showers and storms overnight into tomorrow and Friday. Overnight low of 60. Thursday's high 68 to 74. Friday again, chance of storms. Partly sunny with high 72 to 78. Showers Saturday morning, then mostly cloudy, high 68 to 72. Partly sunny on Sunday with highs in the mid to upper 60s to mid 70s inland. 76 in Madison and Green Bay, 75 now in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:08.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scaffidi and Kristin Brey.
Welcome back to the 11 o'clock hour of our Hump Day Wednesday edition of Point Taken. You're already looking ahead to the weekend. Is that because you're going to be on vacation?
Yes. I'm already packed.
Are you going to be on a plane while the parade is happening?
I don't know what the time. When's the timing of the parade? Is it later in the day? I don't leave till like 4 o'clock from Chicago. So
okay, so you'll be able to refresh your feeds.
Do I really want to though?
I'm fascinated because the truth is, if we didn't have a radio show that talked about the news and talked about politics and everything, I wonder how much I would be hearing about the parade. Because I feel like right now it's being overshadowed by everything that's happening in LA.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Now it's kind of a weird double whammy of the optics of a parade that is military, like showing our military might while potentially on the razor's edge of deploying the military on U.S. citizens. Like that's kind of weird optics, to put it lightly.
Optics is the right word because this is a performative president who understands optics, and this is what I think the president has been trying to accomplish all along.
It is also going to be an interesting weekend because the No Kings protests that are happening all over the country. If you go to nokings.org, I showed this map to Steve earlier today of all of the different planned protests across the country. and all the little dots that represent an event. You even said, I think your gut reaction was, whoa. Yeah. So if you go to nokings.org and scroll down a little bit, it'll show a map of everywhere. There's a lot in Wisconsin, but it's more than 1,500 cities across all 50 states. It's potential to be the biggest anti-Trump protest day ever. There are no protests planned for D.C., which it seems like is a good thing.
Yeah, in terms of having an escalation
avoiding
of violence.
conflicts.
Yes, absolutely.
Avoiding any kind of issue for people who are there to see the parade, be part of the parade, versus people. And so that seems like a good thing to keep those two things separate. But there's going to be a lot happening on Saturday, right as you are leaving the country.
Yeah, and as I said to someone, maybe it was you, I hope I have a country that's the same that I left as when I left. So that I'm fearful about some of that. Jazz had a comment to make.
Well, it's interesting you brought up the No Kings. I literally saw a sign for that when I was turning on to 794 today in St. Francis.
Interesting.
So they're advertising. It's supposed to happen in Cathedral Square here, I believe.
I think that's one of the big ones. But there's one in Glendale or Greendale. There's literally, when you look at this map, it's all over the place.
None of this surprises me. I think you and I have talked about this. My fear has been escalation and that friction, that tension point between protesters, some cases rioters, and this administration who wants to prove this point. We're talking about quotas now for some of the ICE arrests and apprehensions. I've heard numbers like 3,000 a day. That hits a lot of different people. We've had a lot of side conversations about this topic in a lot of different ways with people that we work with and some that we don't, just on who's touched by this. And I made this point a couple of years ago when this started to be talked about as something that this administration might do. What is the impact on some of those sectors of our economy in this states and other states when you're talking about businesses that have utilized some of these individuals? Let's be honest, roofing companies, drywallers, landscapers, many of these sectors of our economy have used these workers. And they're all different statuses, all different sort of storylines, because some have been here forever and some have been here a very short amount of time. And how that immediate impact on our economy would play out. That's part of this story that I don't think gets enough attention. It's starting to get some, but that's a big piece of this, let alone what we do with people that we're apprehending. And is there due process, which the Constitution says there should be, and how that plays out. And then the last piece, which is the thing that I most fear, is extreme violence in those tension points, those points where those two groups come together, ICE agents, law enforcement, now military, and protesters, and in some cases rioters. That's what I worry about. So my fear leaving the country is I come back to a country that's even more worrisome, more tension-filled, and more violent than when I left. And we're already a violent country.
Well, and it's interesting. So I was watching, someone sent me a clip of Rachel Maddow maybe last night, and she was highlighting that a week ago, there was the case of the high school junior volleyball player who was pulled over and then basically taken from his car while he was on his way to practice. The whole town came together, and he's been released. And there was a lot of people were very upset. And they, talked to their congressman and everything. And he's now been released. And there was also in Missouri, a woman named Carol, who was a waitress at Johnny's Waffles and a member of a Catholic church there. She was also detained. Her community came together, advocated for her. She's now also been released. So it's when we talk about effective protest, is it communities showing up specifically for people who are contributing to their community, and that is effective versus, I'm not saying that what's happening in LA is effective, but it's these No King protests on Saturday, the demonstration of the support of, we don't want an authoritarian regime, but what are the other actions of resistance beyond that? Obviously not wanting to escalate to violence, not wanting to escalate to vandalism. But as far as people feeling what do I do besides show up on a Saturday to one of these events? So in some ways, it feels like the protests are getting people back. And in some ways, it sometimes seems maybe it's futile.
Remember when you asked me, was it yesterday or the day before,
It was Monday.
Get me to protest?
Yeah.
Well, the story you sort of laid out where communities are rising up to defend one of their own, that's sort of that personal piece, right? So if somebody has a connection with somebody that, whatever their storyline is, whatever country they came from, however they got here and what their current status is less important to them.
If like Pardeep got mistakenly taken.
Yeah.
Would you show up in the streets?
I don't know if I'd be in the streets, but I'd certainly be raising some.
You may be making calls?
Yeah. Pardeep Kaleka you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend from Oak Creek. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's that touch point where people are going, hold on a second. I know them. They live in my community. They are a viable contributor to what we do here. Texter makes a great point. What about the dairy industry? I didn't mention that one. Huge. All things you should be thinking about when those people, those of you who are cheering for Marines and National Guard to show up, careful what you ask for. That's my point on this. She's Kristin, I'm Steve. Point taken on this Wednesday edition. Hump Day. How can I forget that? On WTMJ.
When I shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, every time I come in, it's like a whole new store. It's because new inventory is arriving daily, all kinds of everything. And let me tell you, thrift store prices make buying easy. And helping others at the same time, that's icing on the cake. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Hey, it's WTNJ, Steve Scaffidi. For Advent, snoring issues, tossing and turning, you don't have to put up with it. Maybe your bed partner says, hey, you should go talk to somebody. Well, that somebody is Advent. I went to Advent, 30-minute visit. They put me at ease. They answered my questions. They added in a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed. They determined my problem, sinuses and nasal passage in my breathing triangle. After a short procedure done in one of their great offices, breathing better than ever, and Kathy and I sleeping through the whole night. If that's what your goal is, and it should be, if you struggle like I used to, take the time to see how Advent can help you to find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better. Go to adventknows.com and schedule an appointment today, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for Tri-County Contracting. You've heard about Tri-County Contracting and their worry-free roof tune-up. You've heard about their instant roof quote. But don't forget, Tri-County Contracting also handles windows. Our project at my home moving right along right now, and the process has been so easy and thorough. It's nice when you can trust the team you're working with and know that they are looking out for you. Tri-County Contracting, WI.com. It's worry-free roofing, siding, and also windows. Tri-County Contracting, WI.com.
Point taken on this Hump Day edition, Steve and Kristin. Let's do this. We have a lot of texters today, which is awesome. 855-616-1620. Siding Unlimited WTMJ Talking Text Line. On a scale of 1 to 10, I just need the number. I don't need phone calls. Just 1 to 10. 10, very worried. How worried are you about the state of our country, our democracy, threat of violence? Just give me a number. I'm just curious because we have listeners of all political ideologies now. They're all over the board. We got middle of the road. We got liberal, right?
Yeah.
Conservative, certainly. Still got some of those.
Had people last night at the event that I was at saying that they're loving the show and they're across the political aisle.
I'm just curious where people fall. Where are you at right now? I have to think about my number, actually.
I don't know what my number is, because sometimes I try to be realistic as far as how young I am still. And the reality, if you're a student of history, as the students of history like to say, how much as a country we have gone through, and we're still here, even though we are a very, very young country. As far as the Civil War and the civil rights in the 1960s, and how much crazier things potentially felt in the 1960s. And even when you look back at it, like I was watching a Vietnam documentary that was released on the 50th anniversary of the ending. And it's like, it's wild. And so to a certain extent, it's like, well, has it always just felt like this? And it's certain media aspects and social media aspects, it just feels crazier because it's in our pocket and we're looking at it all the time, all day. And there's bad faith incentives to rile people up. but it, like in the arc of history, where are we actually? So sometimes I try to quell my own fear of that it's like, well, maybe if you put it in context, it's not crazy. But then I also don't want to be the person who's being gaslit into it's not as bad as it actually is.
I mean, I hope that's the case. I hope it's not as bad as I would actually think. And if you look at the text line right now, the average is like 8 or 9.
Wow.
Man, somebody put 100 on there. That's worrisome. Whatever you think about the current president, I'm not a fan, but I also recognize he's the president of the United States and he has power, and he's certainly exercising that power every day, each and every day, through his words, his actions, executive actions, his pressers, which have become somewhat buffoonish and a farce, but this is how he likes to do his business. He's a performative president doing performative politics. I don't think that's going too far. And I think he's struck a chord not only with his enemies, who are people who oppose him and in many cases hate him, but also with his supporters. And I just looked, I don't know if it was Morning Brew or one of the other publications we sort of look at every day. And he's still, his favorability on some of the policy stuff is still like 80-20. Yes. There's a long list, including some of the things that are happening in the LA conversation. So, you know, we can say things and hope that we're all going to get along, but at the same time, keep in mind, he was elected. He said he was going to do these things, maybe not to the degree he's doing them, but none of this should be a shock or a surprise to us.
Well, and I think those are two different things, right? As far as I like what he's doing because it is what I believe in for the direction of the country I want to see, versus the tearing down of institutions and the checks and balances of government and how the laws are supposed to work. Because I think that there's a lot of people who support what he's doing right now, as in the actual actions, whether it's immigration or the tariffs or economy stuff. But if it was a president in there that they didn't agree with, they would not be as forgiving about the democracy part of it being torn down, right? Like it's the support of this and those. So fleshing out those two different things of what are you worried about? Like if you're not worried right now about democracy only because you like what's happening, that is a different like concern, right? Like that, or that's a different thing than not being worried about, all right, well, someone else is in power and I don't like what they're doing. I am left even less power, like more powerless.
I've said this to Bill a ton of times on Friday. If a different president was doing the things that this president is doing, and that different president was a Democrat, not Joe Biden, any Democrat, whoever that might be, you would be working against that president each and every day. And for anybody on Squawk Radio or any of the other folks who say, no, that's not the case, you're lying to yourselves. You would call it an abuse of power. You would call it a lot of things that aren't some you can't say on the radio.
I mean, we think about what happened with the executive order for student loans.
Right.
There was a ton of lawsuits that immediately came out, and he lost that.
Mm-hmm.
And and then it was over. And he tried to find different workarounds and to come back with that. But like he tried to force that through, and the courts decided, hey, you can't do that. And that was the end of it. And so did Joe Biden say these are activist judges and we're going to do it anyways? And so that is what I think there's a lot of people out there, regardless of their political leanings, who are concerned about what this does in the long run to our ability to have a government for the people, by the people, if you still subscribe to that. And I think that becomes the question for people. It's like, is there just enough people in the country right now who kind of want a benevolent dictator?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I don't know. I think you look at China making cheating a crime. Maybe we'd all be doing better if there was someone just dictating what we had to do as a society, and we'd all be better for it. We'd be a more successful nation for it.
Yeah. To that point, Texter says 0. We finally have real leadership in the White House. So there you go. I wanted to be fair and give all the responses, but I would say they probably average about 7 or 8. So that's a quick look at what you're thinking on the topic of conversation on Point Taken. Kristin, Steve, lots more to get to. Quick break here on 620 WTMJ.
Hey, remember, Father's Day is Sunday. Just think about how much your father means to you. WTMJ's John Mercure here. Take your dad to the Mine Shaft Family Restaurant in Hartford this week. It is the most affordable Father's Day dining destination. Hey, even if you're a kid, you've saved a little money. Treat your dad at the Mine Shaft. Your dad's Wednesday and Friday beer-battered haddock fish fry is all you can eat, just $7.99. And the all-you-can-eat Father's Day buffet is under $20. Far less than what you'll pay anywhere else. It's every dish your dad loves for under $20. Kids and grandkids under 3 eat for free, and they'll love that huge game room quietly set aside from the dining area while you finish up your meal with Dad. Just walk in for your Wednesday and Friday all-you-can-eat haddock fish fry for $7.99. Now that's a value. The Mine Shaft in beautiful downtown Hartford and in Oshkosh near the EAA. Ample seating, lots of close parking. Call and reserve your Father's Day all-you-can-eat buffet for under $20. MineShaftRestaurant.com.
I'm WTMJ's Sandy Max. What makes senior living at Three Pillars so special? Let's hear from my friend Marilyn.
I've been volunteering for over 30 years, so I got to know the community and loved it. We have a theater, community room, and we have bocce outside. They have gardens all over the campus that the residents tend to. Quilting groups, sewing groups, knitting groups, just lots and lots of amenities. Never a boring day.
Schedule a tour today at threepillars.org.
This season's gift with purchase is at Merle Norman. Shop now and receive skincare favorites for hydrating face and lips, including trial sizes of Aqua Bliss cleansing lotion and moisturizer, daily moisture toner, and lip conditioner SPF 15. Shop while supplies last at Merle Norman Cosmetics and Salon at Brookfield Square. Free with the purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products. Cosmetic accessories not included. Offer valid while supplies last at participating Merle Norman Cosmetic Studios only. Limit 1 per customer. We reserve the right to modify the gift if needed. Promotion not available at merlenorman.com.
It's Gina Della. You've heard me define what makes Pella Windows and Doors different. Let me introduce you to the woman behind the billboards, commercials, and share my extraordinary journey of resilience, reinvention, and shattering glass ceilings every Saturday morning at 6:30 on 620 WTMJ and anywhere you stream podcasts for What's the Difference with Gina Della to discuss business coaching across all industries, featuring successful executives, entrepreneurs, and mentors along the way. This is a story you won't want to miss.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 17th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes!
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they battle the Chicago Cubs.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Delta Dental of Wisconsin. Tune in June 17th at 7:05 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check out your local listings to watch the game.
Couple minutes before the bottom of the hour news here on the Wednesday Hump Day edition of Point Taken with Kristin, Brey, Steve Scaffidi. Every time I talk about this, I go, well, aren't you a fan of government efficiency? Yeah, big fan when it's done right. Well, we all know about Doge, Elon Musk,
who's apologized.
Yeah, now apologized to the president. Basically, J.D. Vance, vice president, and Susie Wild, his chief of staff, have intervened. So now Musk, like everybody, bowing to the president of the United States and sort of apologizing for whatever he said. And let's remember what he said. A lot of crazy things, including the maybe not so crazy idea that maybe the president of the United States was on the Jeffrey Epstein list. So we'll find out how that one shakes out. When they released that list, which they said they were going to do, Pam Bondi said they were going to do that a long time ago. We're still waiting for that. And
I love that Kash Patel in real time was on Joe Rogan's podcast and just looked like a deer in headlights. I don't know. I got to stay in my lane. He just sounded like such a bro as far as it's like, well, you are in charge of you've seen the Epstein list. Like, what? Anyways.
So anyway, real quick. And I understand some people don't trust the headlines, but basically this is Doge is now, or the government rather, is now having to hire back people that saw, agencies slashed employees. They're hiring them back now. And I was chatting with somebody. There's significant cost to firing someone and then rehiring them.
Yeah.
Let alone lawsuits.
And so it's not even that they're trying to rehire them, but obviously some of the federal employees, especially those who were already at retirement age and those who, have now taken other jobs because there was the buyout, right? There was a lot of people who took the buyout option. And so they're proving reluctant to return. This is from the Washington Post, who wrote about this. So the administration is seeking workarounds and stopgaps, including asking remaining staff to serve in new roles, work overtime, or volunteer to fill vacancies. This is according to interviews with 18 federal workers across 8 agencies.
Look, How you do things is
Just
just
imagine,
important
you're
as
the
what
one who
you
like
do.
didn't take the buyout. You're still
God.
there. Morale is super low. Now they're asking you to work overtime or convincing you to like volunteer and be a team player to work on other responsibilities that are not yours. And you're just like, I should have taken the buyout.
Yeah, really. Doing something half, you know what, is not the way to do it. And again, big fan of efficiency when done correctly. This was not done correctly. You can say what you want about Elon Musk. You can worship at the altar of Elon Musk and the President of the United States. But you got to do things the way they're supposed to be done. You got to use data, not feelings. Where have I heard that before? All right, local news update coming up. Before we get to any of that, here's now the latest from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A possible breakthrough in the trade tiff between China and the U.S. President Trump posting there is a framework deal saying China goods would face 55% tariffs. The U.S. will also get access to rare earth minerals. Here's ABC's Britt Clinic.
We know that China holds this near monopoly on so-called heat-resistant magnets that are made with those rare earth minerals. That's a crucial component in electric vehicle motors as well as military hardware. That's something both the U.S. and Europe have been recently running low on.
Following days of protests in Los Angeles, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles expected to announce federal charges against 2 men for possession of unregistered destructive devices and attempting to throw Molotov cocktails at L.A. police officers. Florida-based Silver Airways announcing it's ending all flights at Tampa International Airport and shutting down operations. The company working to restructure after filing for bankruptcy. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:31. I'm Connie Weber. A new lawsuit hopes to prohibit Elon Musk from ever again offering cash payments to voters in Wisconsin. Suit filed by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign says Musk and 2 groups he funds violated prohibitions on vote bribery and unauthorized lotteries. Musk handed out multiple million-dollar checks to voters at rallies in Wisconsin ahead of the April 1st state Supreme Court election. Court previously declined to hear a prior lawsuit filed by Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul, hoping to block Musk from handing out the checks. One person killed in a double shooting Tuesday on Milwaukee's North Side, 15th and Ring. A 45-year-old is dead. Another person wounded. No arrests yet. New restaurant poised to open at Milwaukee Mitchell International Airport later this year. Mitchell Market will operate out of Concourse D, serving food and drinks throughout the day. The restaurant's the third new food development plan for Concourse D. Earlier this year, Central Standard announced plans to open a new location in Concourse C of the airport that'll begin service this fall. Time for some news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow up 147, 43,014. Nasdaq down 6 points, 19,708. S&P 500 up 2 at 6,041. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. A disabled vehicle, it is off left, blocking the shoulder. I-43 north, about a half mile beyond I-41, 894 east. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. It's going to be sunny, breezy, warm, and humid today with a high up to 87, then a chance of showers and storms tonight, low 60. Those scattered showers and storms remain in the forecast Thursday and Friday. Thursday's high 68, lakeside 74 inland. Friday high 72 to 78. Showers then Saturday morning, high 68 to 72 inland. And Sunday, partly sunny skies, highs 67 up to 76. Madison and Green Bay both at 76, Milwaukee 75 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:33.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
It's
the biggest door in your house. Time to give it the attention it deserves. Vince Vitrano here talking about Lifetime Door Company in Brookfield. Updating your garage door increases the value of your home. It's the first thing people see, and it's the best return for your money on investment. At Lifetime Door, if you have an emergency, they'll come out 7 days a week to service existing garage doors and openers. 5% off any service or install at Lifetime Door Company in Brookfield. Get started now, 262-783-4004, lifetimedoor.net.
It's WTMJ's Brandon Stein for Wisconsin Harley-Davidson. The road is calling, and Wisconsin Harley-Davidson has you covered with amazing rides in June. On Saturday, June 14th, you have 2 rides to choose from, either Dogs and Hogs or Sign Effects Ride for veterans. Then Saturday, June 21st, it's the Wisconsin Hero Outdoors Ride for veterans. 2 amazing rides for 2 amazing causes. All info for these rides can be found at wishd.com or find them on Facebook under their events. Wisconsin Harley-Davidson, your destination dealer.
Now it's time for Ask Us Anything on Point Taken. Got a burning question? Give us a call or text on the Siding Unlimited talk and text line at 855-616-1620.
Oh, welcome. Last half hour on Wednesdays. Typically Ask Us Anything. It's something that I started a long time ago with Ask Steve Anything. And it's your chance to really sort of direct the program and lead the conversation in your own unique way on the text line, or sometimes we'll take a phone call if it's good. That's all on you, because we don't decide that. You decide whether you're asking a question that's relevant and worthy of our attention for the next half hour. 855-616-1620, the Siding Unlimited WTMJ talk and text line. I haven't even looked at other.
All right, there's one easy one that I'm already going to guess that you don't know. But Steve, where's your next trip after Hawaii? With your listeners. So that would be 2027.
So Kathy and I were talking about, I think it was last night or the night before. I'm thinking Scandinavia. Never been. You know, and that's like all encompassing, right? There's many countries, not many, but a lot of countries in that area. I think it'd be interesting and fascinating and something I haven't experienced before. Probably in the summer, though. I don't want to go freeze my butt off.
Well, it's not only that, it's also you want to have some daylight.
Yeah. But, you know, Kathy's never seen the Northern Lights. You go up there, you can see them. From what I understand, the people are amazing. The food's amazing. What's not to like?
Would you do more like Iceland or Norway?
Norway, Sweden,
Finland.
Yeah. All of them, yeah.
You do all of them in one trip?
Well, I think they have like a river cruisy type, or there would be like an ocean cruise for like a week and a half.
That sounds great.
I wonder if Rose is listening. Because the way we've done it, so we kind of go back and forth, right? I'll pick one, and then Rose says, what do you think about this one? And I think it was, both of our ideas was Hawaii, because one, for me, was 50th State, but she wanted to send some talent, me, to Hawaii with Foxwood Travelers. So that was sort of an easy one. Tuscany was mine, and God, they knocked it out of the park for the experience. I still hear from people that went on that trip that said that was the trip of a lifetime. That's always the goal. And we've had some pretty cool stuff. We've done Germany together. That was more of a Rose suggestion, the beer tour, which we did. We sold that one out. We have Sicily and Malta this year. So I'm thinking Scandinavia. In the back of our minds, still like Africa or South America.
Have you gone any countries in Africa?
No. I'll be really close because Malta's just off the shore.
What's your... Like,
I'm not sure what experience. Probably Northern Africa.
Do South Africa and do safari. I mean, you could do a safari in a lot of the countries, but
yeah, I don't know if safari is what we would do.
I have not gone to any country in Africa, but on my list of African countries would be Tanzania, Egypt, South Africa, Morocco.
And just so you know, I'll be in Egypt next year. Kathy and I are
going to Egypt next year.
Yeah,
too?
March. Yeah.
Jesus, must be nice.
That's just Kathy and I and I think 35 other people. So we'll have fun. As I'm talking, I'm also reading. I think it's a question about term limits. I'll paraphrase it. I assume you're in support.
Yes.
Yeah. As am I.
You know what was interesting? Actually, I'll put this because we're talking about term limits, but talking about something else that I think may not actually happen that has been thrown out in the past. But Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, tweeted out, would you support a constitutional amendment rendering all members of Congress ineligible for re-election whenever the federal deficit exceeds 3% of the GDP? Everybody's got to go.
Yeah. Performance-based, right?
It's an interesting concept. I think I was talking to my brother once about this. He's in favor of this, but then he's also in favor of spiking how much we pay Congress in order to, and this was his big three things. I think it was 1, you don't let them trade in the stock market.
That should have happened a long time ago.
But instead, you pay them a lot of money. So it is a very competitive role. And so people who, some of our very talented people who are like, why would I ever go do this when I'm making way more money doing, being a lawyer, being a businessman, whatever, get more incentivized because it is such competitive pay. But then you also have term limits. So it's not like they're just getting this for the rest of their life. And exactly that, if the budget ever gets out of whack, you're out of here.
This one from the 920. I'm all for Trump's policies of getting rid of many of the illegal immigrants, especially if they're troublemakers. I think most people agree if they're criminals, yes. My question is, what will happen once this administration is out and another administration takes over? I guess it depends on the administration. Republicans and Democrats need to work on a long-term agreement to remedy illegal immigrants coming to our country. Hate to say it, but this may be impossible for the two parties to work on.
Don't we want immigrants to come to our country?
Yes, that's the history of our country.
But not only the history of our country, but just the fact of if birth rates are going down and the only way that our population is sustaining or growing is net immigration, is it not in everyone's benefit to figure out making it an easier process for people who are just coming here to find jobs to make that easier for them to do that legally? Isn't that the actual solution? Because that's the thing to me of if the fix right now is 3,000 people a day, getting them out of the country, it's okay, and then what? Is this the goal? The goal is just to have less people in the country?
Apparently, but that's not a recipe for success. Japan is worried about this. They're going to lose 1/3 of their population in the next generation. That's insane.
Yeah.
All those big cities, you need people to make things run properly and operate smoothly. And for all those people who like less people, well, I understand your mindset because you're sitting off the grid somewhere. You probably don't want to see anybody anyway, and you can't get along with people. I'm obviously being very general in my comments, but we have a problem. We have a very aging population. I'm part of that storyline, and not enough young people to replace those aging population in many of the jobs that they're currently
more
holding.
Immediate than that is to take care of you guys.
Absolutely, because all of the places that provide that care are struggling to get people, and all the industries that you're going to yank people out of. You want your house roofed? You want your dairy products to be affordable? You got to think about this beyond just the flash statements that you often hear about, in most cases, on Squawk Radio and Squawk podcasts. All right, she's Kristin. I'm Steve. Ask us anything. 855-616-1620. We need some good questions. Not that those weren't good. Ask us something you want us to answer. You lead the conversation. That's next on 620 WTMJ.
We see you out there building a life you love, knowing that when inspiration strikes, nothing should get in your way. At Blaine's, we're here to help with everything you need to make it happen at prices that make it possible. Like Carl Star specialty tires and inner tubes, 15% off. Save $80 on 192-piece DeWalt Mechanics tool set. And 6-gallon DeWalt wet dry vacs, $79.99. Find value on the things you value. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Being original.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Milwaukee Weight Loss. I've been on the journey. You've followed me if you're watching on YouTube or the stream. About 40 pounds. Actually, was at my second lowest weight in about 20 years this morning. It's the secret, by the way, to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day. Their doctors have developed. Easy to follow. I did it. You can do it. Helps you lose weight fast, naturally, safely, no drugs or injections with risk of serious side effects. None of the gimmicky stuff, the meals, the bars, the shakes. You don't even have to exercise, but I encourage you to get out there and walk every day. Their program helps reset your metabolism. That's the key. You can keep the weight off for good with a coach. They're all outstanding at Milwaukee Weight Loss for ongoing support. Here's the kicker. Costs up to half as much and works up to twice as fast as most other programs. Go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Schedule your free consultation. Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. I did it. You can do it. It's crazy to watch your body lose that weight, but it feels so good. Schedule your free consultation by calling 262-449-1180 or go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. That's MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
Rivals meet again when the Brewers battle the Cardinals June 12th through the 15th. Come for a duel between the Contreras brothers on the diamond and stay for one of the best weekends of summer. It's Tropical Day, Saturday, June 14th, featuring a Brewers straw hat with special tickets. Then take Dad to the Father's Day game for a Barrelman cooler giveaway on June 15th. It doesn't get any better than this. Get in on the action at Brewers.com.
It's Debbie Lazaga, and I'm so excited because Kohler Services just transformed my old bathtub into a beautiful new Luckstone shower. Kohler Services made it so easy. They came to my home and helped me design my custom shower, and they hauled away my old tub. Stephen, Luke, and Will were focused and professional installers. I'd recommend them to anyone. This June, receive a free shower door with a purchase of a Kohler Luckstone shower, plus no interest for 12 months. You can request your free quote for a custom Kohler Luckstone shower by visiting KohlerServicesWI.com. That's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Are you sick of not being your bank's top priority? We are too. At Wintrust, we take a different approach to banking. We're proud to be your one true banking partner focused on your unique financial goals. That's right in your backyard. Whether you're opening your first account, buying a home, planning for the future, or starting a business, we have tailored solutions to get you there. Stop settling and start experiencing a better way to bank at Wintrust.com. Wintrust, different approach, better results. Banking products provided by Wintrust Financial Corp Banks, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Father's Day is Sunday. Take your father to the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club near Holy Hill. Buy one dinner, get one free tonight through Sunday, including desserts and ice cream drinks. Yeah, buy one, get one free even on Father's Day. Google foxandhoundsrestaurant.com.
All right, welcome back to Ask Us Anything, which is what we do the last half hour of our Wednesday show here on Point Taken.
And no, it's not because we're lazy and we don't want to think of a topic, because we have like 100 topics we could do.
There's never enough time for as much news as there is these days.
I just like the interaction.
Yeah, I like the interaction too. All right. I think this is an easy one from Paul. Do you think medical marijuana will get passed this year in Wisconsin?
No.
I think he means in Wisconsin. He actually didn't say Wisconsin versus nationally. But
Better question. Should it? Yes. I mean, it's not even, it's like a no-brainer.
do we want it to? Yes.
Yes.
Will it?
No.
No. All right, here's a good one. Do you think Governor Newsom is helping or hurting his 2028 presidential aspirations by directly challenging President Trump?
That's a really good question because there's a lot of layers to it. He could be helping because he's seen as a challenge to the president.
Just another strongman, potentially?
Yeah.
Is there someone who can go toe-to-toe with him?
Who's not afraid of this current president. So that's potentially a help. But also, you know, there's the part where you appear like you're in a state where there's significant problems, which highlights some of the problems. And if you have violence, especially, and we hope we don't have violence, that's not a good thing. That's not a good scene. And many of those images, of course, would be shown in any sort of effort to run for a higher office. So there's sort of a yin and yang there, I guess.
I saw a funny TikTok today as far as more left-leaning progressive people, especially people who live in California, who are just on this like roller coaster with Gavin Newsom, because it's like on the one side he started like rolling out like more moderate policies, and he was interviewing Charlie Kirk on his podcast, and it was all doing all this stuff. I was like, I don't like that. But then he's like in a meme war with Stephen Miller. It's like, oh yeah, more of that. And so people have very mixed feelings as far as how they like him or not. I don't know. I think it would not surprise me, and I'm not the first person to say this, that whichever Democrat is the candidate in 2028 is someone who's not even on the radar right now. It's not Pete. It's not Kamala. It's not Gavin. It's not Gretchen. It's not Eddie, JB. Yes, I used all their first names.
First name basis?
First name basis, not at all. But it wouldn't surprise me if someone just comes out of totally right field because it feels like we need something outside of the establishment of Democrats. Because as we know, whatever the polls are for Trump at any given moment, it's not like Democrats are doing any better.
No, and I'm not a Democrat, but I think that's the best medicine for what ails them would be somebody that's fresh and got to be a great communicator, got to be vibrant, and got to be.
Do you think it's someone who's currently elected in a position though, or someone who's never been a Trump, where it's like, oh, you just came from a totally different sector?
You just asked the question. You just answered your own question. I think it's someone like Trump. Not with the same ideologies, but certainly that imaging.
Say a different background in politics.
I've answered this question before on previous versions of this, but if you could bring someone back from the dead and meet with them or have dinner with them or whatever, who would that be for you?
My mom's mom.
That's cool.
Because she died when I was 6.
How about a famous person? Not that she wasn't famous.
Anyone want to talk about Barb Matthews?
If she's like your mom, she probably was awesome.
She was awesome. That's why I want to.
Deb Brey. I hope you're listening out there, Deb Brey.
Do you have this?
Have
you answered this? I don't know.
Yes.
This always gets like the one singular famous person
Two.
always gets me.
One, I've spent a lot of time at Mount Vernon over the many years I went to Washington, D.C. I love that place, and I would love to sit down with George Washington because he was an amazing person.
Okay.
From farmer to obviously one of the great minds and military tacticians of our age, which is relatively short in this country. The other one is Isaac Newton, who's many people consider the most brilliant person that's ever lived. Neil deGrasse Tyson was asked that question, and he always says that's the guy.
Isaac Newton.
Again,
How weird do you think some of those guys were?
They were probably pretty weird.
That's what I was talking about with a friend who actually worked for Elon Musk. And he goes, listen, this is what we talk about someone like the athletes. Like if social media was around when Michael Jordan was in his prime, would he be a villain or would he be everyone's hero? Because at the time he was everyone's hero because he was the best and all the PR around him. But I think in history has unfolded in a way that is Michael Jordan wasn't the nicest guy in the world.
Because you didn't know this.
And and so the same thing as far as now, like the Benjamin Franklins, the Isaac Newtons, the Teslas, these guys who were probably wildly eccentric and weird and maybe had some off-putting social skills. Yeah. But none of us knew that because they weren't tweeting out their feelings every 5 seconds.
Yeah. She's Kristin, I'm Steve. We still have some time. We got a bunch of really good questions, so we'll try to rapid fire those after our break, our last segment. A Point Taken with Kristin and Steve coming up right after this. Loyalty, family. Few things are more important. This is WTMJ's Steve Scaffidi and Loyal Family Renovations. They saved the day after a brutal storm in Oak Creek. Hail damage, I had a lot of it. But Jeff, Jake, and the whole team, absolute pros, made the entire process smooth as can be. Let's be honest, not everyone knows how to deal with adjusters. They handle all the questions, quick answers, top-notch customer service. In just 2 days, my roof was done. If storm damage hits, call the team that made it easy for me. Loyal Family Renovations. Visit loyalfamilyrenovations.com.
While you're just fighting to stay relevant.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
Let's see how you fare outside your element.
He's a fly ball right field. Benson back at the track. Wall. Bye-bye baseball. Jackson Churio quiet no more.
The Brewers host the Braves for a 3-game series. Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts today at 12:35. We are the home of the Brewers. WTMJ.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here for Shopco Optical. Get eyewear for everything you do at Shopco Optical. Schedule your annual comprehensive eye exam, check out new frame styles, and order your annual supply of contact lenses all in one place. Enjoy the time and attention your eyes deserve at Shopco Optical. Receive quality eye care and a personalized vision solution tailored to your specific vision and lifestyle needs. Call Shopco Optical or visit shopco.com to schedule an appointment at a location nearest you.
Monica, we've got to hand it to you.
You and the design team have outdone yourselves.
Are you talking about the One collection?
Those rings say you are the one.
And they say it symbolically.
Describe the symbols.
Every ring in the One collection should be presented with a special ritual.
What would that ritual be?
You pick up her left hand and you place a kiss on her ring finger.
Rick, you never told me about that part.
Then you show her the tiny red diamond, flush mounted inside the ring, that will forever be in contact with her finger.
Why is it red?
Because that's when the giver says to the one, wherever you go, my heart goes with you.
I give you this kiss. I give you my heart.
The red diamond is a secret symbol of that sacred moment.
The center diamond on the outside of the ring is for the whole world to see.
But the tiny red created diamond inside the ring is only for the two of them.
The One collection of engagement rings is available exclusively at Kessler's.
To find the Kesslers nearest you,
visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
Find furniture for life from Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
With Amazon Business, smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
Panic strikes as you realize on Wednesday that Thursday is your anniversary. The reservations being secured.
We'll see you at 8.
The gift being purchased. Yeah, you've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with early pay up to 2 days early on direct deposits. So even though they call you Last Minute Lisa, we'll make your last minute scrambling a bit easier. You've got this with Early Pay from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Last chance for your questions on Ask Us Anything. Kristin and Steve on this Hump Day edition. Steve from my favorite city, which is Oak Creek. Frequent caller to the program. Hi, Steve.
Hello. We've all heard the talk, and yes, we've all heard the talk and news coverage on what to do with 794 as it goes north into the city. In the past, Steve, I believe you've talked about wanting to see an extension of 794 as it goes south, past Layton Avenue, past the airport. Where do you see 794 south going to?
Awesome question. I'm glad you asked it. Thanks. I'll let you hang up and listen to the answer. I supported this more than 10 years ago. There's a couple ideas. It could go to Rawson. It could actually get as far down as I think Putes. Now there's money associated with these things, but the area is actually open for that, with a few slight adjustments and probably some land acquisition. But it's pretty open given what has been traditionally farmland.
Because right now, where does it cut over to join? Is it 41?
So it goes 7. The Hone Bridge takes you all the way through Bayview to St. Francis. And then where the St. Francis, Milwaukee Airport, Cudahy border is, which is Layton Avenue. You can go a little bit farther under that street and go over to Nicholson, which then goes north-south to St. Francis and all the way to Oak Creek and beyond. So I favor an expansion of that. I don't think a lot of work's being done on that. The other interesting piece of this is I think we should be looking at some of these alternatives to freeways. And that sort of it is an alternative. It's at street level for the most part. And it gets you there quick enough. I think the speed limit on that extension, which runs to Layton and eventually Nicholson, is like 50. It makes so much sense. It looks nicer. And somebody asked the 794 question, which we talked about.
We talked about with Jeremy last week.
Yeah,
and we were like, I'm going on record now saying it's going to be a compromise between the total rebuild versus a total boulevard.
Yeah, tear down.
And then it's going to be something in between.
What do you think?
Probably that's something in between.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think, to the answer to Steve's question, I think that's sort of where we end up. And I hope. And here's my message to the elders, statesmen in Oak Creek. If you're not thinking about Pennsylvania, Nicholson, south of Rawson, because everything north of that's been redone, you should be thinking about home acquisition and expanding that road, because South Milwaukee was on board years ago. That should have happened already. Get busy.
All right, last question. Sorry, I'll text back some of the questions that we didn't get to today. But here's the one. Do you really believe Aaron Rodgers is married?
I do. He's wearing a ring, and he said he was. Should we not believe him?
So Texture said, I think he's yanking everybody's chain. I thought about this joke this morning because his thunder totally got stolen by Trump and Elon.
Oh, yeah.
His Steelers thunder just got totally usurped by that fight. And so I was like, did he just plant this marriage thing so he can get back in the news?
Some people would say yes. All right, we'll do it all again tomorrow. Kristin, point taken?
Point taken.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. News is next.
Imagine trying to take on one of the big car companies. It's not easy. Yet recently, one local law firm finalized the largest compensatory verdict in state history against an automaker, over $38 million. And it was no fluke. That same firm has been holding big car companies accountable for faulty designs that cause injury for over 50 years. Because